Ato mātai atua matua I te matapu o. Tapu tia tonu hia o tō ngahu. Tō uho anō kia rai hake ai. A ia ko tāu anō kia mea tia ai. A ia te whenua tau. A ia tō te matapu o. A mea ia mātau ki te ao nei. Ai o a te iao hareia. A ko mipua ke ia mātau. O mātau I o. A me mātau hoki ia mātau. Mātau e I o ahia. A ka hure hoki mātau ki a kau o. Kia whakawai. E rangi whakaura ia mātau. A ia te kino mea. Anō nā ia hoki te ho ano. A me te manatapu. A me ko te tai ea. A ke tonu atu. A mene ka piti hono ka tātai hono. Ko rā tau te mate ki a rātai. Ka piti hono. A ka tātai hono. Ko tātai mā tonu tēnei tātai. Ko te kāno hiora ki a tātai mā kua. Kai te mihi atu. Nau mai haere. Whakau mai ki roto. Ki ngā kōrero a TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi I roto tēnei wā tonu nei. Whakau mai, whakatau mai. Hara mai haere, nau mai haere. Te nara tatau, mauri ora. Ka huri. Ai, kia ora mai rā tatau, yes. Lots to hand from today, lots to talk around, and again, I'm not too sure whether we're going to, just like I think the last couple of months, our kōrero for the last couple of months, we've been hardly able to get through everything, but we keep on being inclusive with our kōrero. And making sure that within our kōrero we bring everything in from the month before. Of course, the last video that I did did a recording of the 12th of May because there was a really critical live, that one. Of course, today is the new live for Moteo 07, Ngamaatoutou. And of 2025, and yeah, we're back with a real vengeance, I think. Today, just looking over things, we're looking pretty good. If I was to evaluate and assess and give my judgment of things, of how things are going to hand, how things are to hand, we're doing pretty good. Just to update our, the last few months have been a harrowing time, a very difficult time for security, a very difficult time, of course, for the Orero'Te'i and myself. But this whole time has been a difficult time. The whole last 15 to 16 years has been harrowing. So it was nothing different really for us. Although to you it might have seemed like far more dangerous and far more life-threatening, and it was. And but yeah, we've always worked in the space in that sort of manner. We were always aware that things like that could happen. We were always aware that our safety, could be compromised by somebody else, or we could get what do you call it? Subterfuge, people from other tribes cutting in, trying to breach our security. And sometimes we've had that, but we've been pretty good at managing all of that sort of danger those risks and threats to the success of Tahumaakaa kanuimatua and threats and dangers to the success of TeTAHUTrust, TahuInvestmentsLimited, TROT, and of course TahuHapuIwi Incorporated. And in the update, where we have full control. That's the news to hand. We have full control of the situation, and we, there's maybe a couple of worrying points in there at the moment, but we don't think it's worth us being too concerned about those areas for now, because those are areas that we're managing through and clearing up at the moment. And it looks like because we have full control of the situation, we have diffused the whole of the situation. So that's the good news. That's good news. Yeah, that's good news. And so just mentioning that there are a couple of things, a couple of concerns in there, but we don't think that they would become a threat at all. We have much control going on in there. We have thoroughfare also to the top line. We already have thoroughfare to the awa line. We know that you knew that. So having our security, having control is a biggie for us right now, and our security have been just absolutely marvellous, and no one in our midst even could break security and actually get away with it. We did have one go by the wayside there. I think I mentioned that in the kōrero before last, but no need to be talking around that particular point anymore. We've managed that one through, and those are particular threats and dangers that are about us all the time. Confidentiality, privacy, and top secret information is a job that we need to be able to manage through all the time. Governance in an entity like ours needs to be that powerful and strong, and with an authority over the entirety of the priorities, the critical priorities of our group. So security's done a wonderful job. So glad. So I guess how can we put it? So happy that we've got such capable security in our midst. 5 lines of it is a massive amount of security. It was hard even for the opposing, the enemy, if you like, the huariri, to actually break any one of those ranks. Only one maybe was just about going to try to destroy all 5, but that didn't happen. We cottoned on to that and sorted all of that. Now, where we're going to from here is that we're going to keep managing that situation, keep the diffuse of the situation at that level, and continue to keep control of, we have also control of the settlements. That is settlements, our 2 settlements of Wairarapa, that's the whole of the entirety of Wairarapa, and also of Heretaunga Wairua. We have absolute control now of the entirety. Our security has managed to break through all of that. all of the red tape in there, all of the controls of kahunurangitāne, of all of that area. And we have particular control via, remember the two persons of the opposition that we spoke of, that we knew, they didn't know this, but we knew they were the culprits of the whole mess, and we knew that they were the ones that were causing all of the trouble. Now, we left them till last. We waited till we got through all of the troublemakers, the different layers of troublemakers, and we sorted them in the ways necessary and available to us. In particular, as you know, we were driven to making sure that some people that wouldn't stand to reason were totally put out of the way. Now, out of harm's way. Now, having dealt with all of that, and having been in that situation where, you know, our poor security, you know, being put in that situation, it's not entirely, it's not frightening or anything for them, but it creates a whole situation that we would rather not be in. We were not too sure whether the opposition knew, but we expected this would happen. But it's just the timing. The timing's quite strange in that this timing was around about the time that we were awaiting the kahunurangitāne to come back with the finalising and the concluding of the current settlements. We had basically concluded that by word of mouth. We had sorted that to conclude. Now, we were waiting for the comprehensive closing, you know, the whole of the concluding of all of that, which would have taken some communications perhaps, and or a full meeting perhaps around the whole issue, and a concluding, and perhaps a signing off of a whole deal, etc., etc., etc. We don't just have control now of the entire of those settlements, but also control via those two persons, and also control via the Crown, /Crown. So you could just imagine how sort of elated I am today. Quite elated and happy at the way we're moving forward, ever so cautiously, but surely, and moving forward in a way that we can confidently say at TaTauma that we're on our way towards a building up of our people. I mean, I think I remember mentioning to you also in one of the kōrero, I think it was the one before last, that we were making our way towards working more with our people face to face, because we couldn't do that prior to these current times. In the current era, we've found that, oh wow, everything sort of we managed to get to a point where we could free up our people and start to work with our people more face to face. So we're moving into that sort of era. We've got mandating on the cards as well, so that needs to still happen. So our hui mandating, obviously the next the current couple of settlements are fine. Now I think, well, I'm not too sure whether because I haven't met with our lawyer of late. We've been under tight security, and so once I do, I'm quite sure that I'm going to be able to meet with our lawyer and discuss, focus on not just the rest of settlements in the west, but also in the north. We want to move our focus to the north, because the north is, before we point to the south, because The north is far more focal for us to be having a look at. Not only is the north quite well attached, as in our heritage and our past, we have always had strong ties with the north, and so we know it, and in fact we're the iwi that the hapu iwi, sorry, we're the hapu iwi that knows the north far better than anybody else in the country. And so, and well, we would, because our heritage has a very strong attachment to the north, and so we want to move our focus there. We'll meet with our lawyer and we'll have a look and see what the situation there is now. I know last year, around about mid-year, when we were looking at the north, things were quite favourable. It may have been the year before, but I know last year for some time things were still favourable there, and all three of our settlements up that way we could have made moves into settling those almost straight away. So we want to look at that whilst looking at the rest of the west, which is a huge claim, including the top of the south. Aotearohe. As you well know, Aotea is one of our waka as well, that we include within our whole confederation, includes 8 waka. And because our people didn't come all at the same time into the country, they came at different times. But the first lot of our people were here over 3,000 years ago. Okay, and this was Moai. Moai was here then, and Tewa, and Tewa. So, and speaking of Moai Hapu Iwi, remember people, I use Hapu Iwi just to help people understand which form and structure of Hapu that we're talking about. We're talking about the structure of Hapu that has in particular the iwi birth line right at the 8th TeTarimatua. Okay, that's where we cease to be whānau uri. Whānau uri is another way of saying a composite or sub-tribal group. Okay, remember at the 5th TeTarimatua, you're still composite. So even though you've got Hapu Iwi birth lines, they are composite Hapu Iwi birth lines. So that's from 5 to 7. Okay, I just thought I'd quickly slip that one in there and mention that a bit more on Hapu Iwi, like we talked about in our last video, e tatauma. And I thought that I'll just let you know and clarify for you there the Hapu Iwi birth line. Now that doesn't come in the 5th, 6th or 7th line of TeTarimatua, Tahipu mā takitahi, that's the dynasty paramountcy. It comes in the 8th. So after the 8th, the 3rd line in that line, the 3rd paramountcy in that line, gives birth to the Hapu Iwi birth line. Just like how TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi did within our first Hapu, within our first TeTarimatua, Tahipu mā takitahi. Okay, so that's on the 8th one. Now, e tatama. Now, with that, you know, all of that kōrero in mind, we can actually move on to saying e tatama that our Hapu Iwi is just about to officially take over in our very own land regions, and it's about time. It's about time because it's been a long, arduous fight. And we think that the Crown/Crown has just realised, because they've changed. Yeah, they're no longer backing kahungurangitane, and they are now either tribes that are going to, and from what we know, there are tribes that are going to be now positioned under us, which is tradition, customarily that's where they were. They are Taina descendants or junior descendants from us, from the 10th and the 12th Uretare Tahumaakaa of TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi. Okay, so yeah, just mentioning that there as well, the Hapu'iwi birth line that comes from the 8th. Right there, you become Hapu'iwi. So that's a long process and a difficult process to get through, because you really have to wait for the gods to smile down on you just to get one Uretārewa tahipu mā takitahi, Uretārewa ariki tahipu mā takitahi. Yeah, that's tough to get. We can all get Uretārewa ariki, like who do we know? They sing about their Uretārewa ariki is it's whānau āpanu. They sing their song about their Uretārewa ariki. You can have lots of those, but Uretārewa ariki tahipu mā takitahi. Now that's a bit different. 3 all in a line, 3 firstborns, 3 males, and with the 3rd one bearing the Hapu'iwi birth line, or first of all, the Hapu birth line, as we spoke about. 5 of those getting us to, we're starting to move into iwi status. 5 to 7, we're almost there, and then on the 8th, Uretārewa ariki tahipu mā takitahi, we then on the 3rd one, of course that includes with the Owere Weotei, or the Māori Kura, an intermarriage with them, kia puta mai, ko te kahaka nui, I te Hapu'iwi, kia puta mai. Okay, so there you have it. Just letting you know that, so that you're a bit clearer about those sorts of things. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. And all 7 of the Hapu'iwi of the North, you might recall that's been some of our information that we've allowed to be discussed forth in some of our lives. We have made sure that you know that all 7 of the Hapu'iwi of the Motu were also in the North. Okay, and still are. They still are in the North. As much as, there's perhaps, there could be 2, perhaps 2 or 3, maybe, particular tribes, specific tribes in the North that are trying to deny that. And the Crown as well, /Crown, trying to deny that as well, but they cannot deny that. We know the reo of the North, we know the tikanga me te kawa of the North, we know the land, the lay of the land in the North, te mea, and it's not, the whakapapa and whakapapa kōrero, it's not hard to get right in the North either. To get right in the North either. Hopefully I said that right. But e tātai mā, isn't it it feels quite wonderful in terms, e tātai mā, that we're starting to get that peaceability that we've been looking for. in TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi. We're starting to get that, and we can be happy now that we can enter into talks quite peaceably with others, with opposition, but from what I know, this is my intel, my advisors, my top boards, my main governance people, my hustlers even in National Office. This is the kōrero they give to me. So I'm well aware of how to assess a situation at any given time. And based on the information that's given to me or what's before me, I'm usually pretty good at doing that. So I would say we're moving into a time of peaceability where we are going to be able to work with people in a lot greater fashion and build and grow, which is what we're here for. We've been tied up in the last 3 months into 3 months or even more, things that we'd rather not be a part of, So it's been quite a harrowing time. But then the whole of the last 15, 16 years in the space has been that, and I think I mentioned that before. It's been disgusting. And a lot of what has transpired in the last 3 months or so has actually been as a result of what's happened over the last 15 to 16 years. But then there's the core of the problem in there. Let's not forget, over the last 2 centuries, the opposition was suckered in to thinking that they were the HapuIwi of these areas. And in fact, they're not HapuIwi at all. And they're not the actual Tutura large natural groupings of the area, and they're not, regardless of what the Crown/Crown ever wanted to say, or what the Crown/Crown ever wants to stipulate to us. They've got to provide the proof, and they've, sadly, unfortunately, asked us who the major fault of this whole situation is. If we say it's the Crown/Crown. The 2 people that we have who have diffused the whole of the situation for us they're part of that. They're part of that grouping. They're just representatives of the opposition groups. And they're the 2 main ones that have been driving this whole situation and denying us the right, along with the Crown/Crown, who should know better and is actually the authority over and above the whole of their organisation over the opposition in the current day. So they're at fault, and we would be right in saying so. Okay, tataima. So the Crown will pay for this whole situation. I guarantee you of that. The Crown will pay in full. We also know some of our plans within TeRunanganui as we move towards looking at the reconvening of TeRunanganui. I think you might have heard me. And if you haven't heard me talk about those things, have a look at all our videos are now posted onto YouTube now. All our videos have been allowed to be posted there. There's 166 of them, 166 videos coming at you one by one. They're all there, and they have all the kōrero that'll give you the entirety of the whole of the update from over the last 15, 16 years. And it's been a critical time for everybody, not just us, but for everybody. So, but we've had to think really hard over the last 3 months about how we were going to confront the challenging situations before us and choose very selectively exactly, out of all the choices that we had, exactly what the best choice was to make to get through all of the situations that we got faced with over the last 3 to 4 months. We're still awaiting time to progress and to keep on maintaining what we have and moving towards that peaceability and that ability to work peaceably in the space as we go. And we're pretty sure that that's exactly what's going to happen. Now, we have a very, very good intel, and we have very, very capable governance people in our midst, people very experienced in corporate business, etc., and people very experienced in governance, and even at national office level, even regional level. A lot of our people are massive professionals in those areas. So we looking over the whole of the situation for all of us, I think I would be right in saying that we are taking the right steps forward, and we have moved forward from the situation now, and we're starting to move out of that situation ever so cautiously, and continuing to move forward. Looking, of course, whilst we look at the West, we're going to continue through the West. Of course, we're still awaiting Moaupoko to come back to us. Of course, our ahorangi, I was going to mention that before. Our ahorangi and the general that's working with TeTarimatua, the TeTarimatua, one of our TeTaiHauauru, Ariki and Hapu, that from amongst us, our third one, they are looking at the Moaupoko very carefully and still planning, as far as I know. I haven't heard of any work going on out there with Moaupoko. They may be getting held up by Moaupoko because they're still at their crossroads, where they're deciding whether they're going to stay under the Crown/Crown process and continue to move forward in that way. Well, we see that as a move backwards, just how that has been for Kahungunu. That's really a move backwards, but that's entirely their prerogative. If they want to do that, then they do it without us. We'll continue to claim separately. If they decide to move with us as the TeTaiHauauru, the fourth of the TeTaiHauauru, Hapu of Tahumaakaa kanuimatua which is what they are customarily, then we'll work it together. And but I'm not too sure whether the ahorangi has been permitted to go on out there and start his work out there, strengthening up every area of Moaupoko. It would be good if they did start to do that and continue the awesome work that they're doing together, both he and the general within Taumātarahimatua. Okay, now I think it's just wonderful continuing with our Western divide focus as well, beyond the Moaupoko, to include also all of our tribes in the Te Whanganui o Rotu, Te Whanganui Atara area, that is the Wellington area. Of course, we're the original owners of Wellington area. If not for the musket walls, then of course we wouldn't have been conquested in some of those areas. We lost quite a fair bit of our land there, but we also retained much of our land there in the Wellington area. It's that land that we've been fighting for and looking to continue to move on to as we, like for instance, how we are situated at the moment, moving forward peaceably, looking forward to settlements. Yeah, highly looking forward to those, and we envisage that it shouldn't be too long. E Tatauma we'll have the first lot of our settlements in the bag, as they say, So, e Tatauma, moving on from there, and I think I've mentioned the mandating hui. When we get around to settlements and organising around capacity building around various different claims, with our legal team, we will enjoy that together at our hui from the 8th and 9th of August. E Tatauma, that's te u o koeko. And so we will be able to work with our legal team. I no doubt, yeah, pretty soon. I know that actually that should have been last week, and we haven't been able to move forward with our HOA, moving forward on the administrative duties for that. We haven't been able to yet, but hopefully this week all of that gets done, and then I can meet with our legal team and forward everything on to her. And otherwise, the other thing we're waiting on is that our finance is able to move through the whole of the organisation and the administration for that side of things, for the particular hui wānanga around those particular issues, including mandating. Mandating, of course, will continue. Once the next 5 to 6 hui are completed, I think we might be aiming to get about 2 or 3 of them done this year, and we'll probably leave the rest for the new year. But a big part of that, e Tatauma, for our Hapu Iwi having so many people and being so large, 345,000 plus, that is easily the largest TuTahuTrust of the country. We've had a look, and we've realised actually that is the largest. And I mean, Ngāpuhi, they profess to having 160,000 people, but we know that about 70% or less, 65 to 70% of those people are intermarried out by Tahumaakaa kanuimatua Māmoe Hapu Iwi whānauri and Moriori Hapu Iwi. So yeah, it's very, very difficult to say. But that's the sort of thing that the Crown / Crown does. They go, oh, well, that's not important to us. What's important to us is you, and we want to focus on you, and we want to make you the LNG, when in fact, customarily, you're not. So this is what happened, the same thing that happened to our opposition, who very soon, as they've agreed to go under us, will be back in their customary position. Once they're there, we'll be helping them to maintain their position and hold their position and grow from there. We'll be helping them to do that in no uncertain terms. They should have done this years ago. In fact, back in 2009, when we asked them to, they should have done that. Little did we know we were going to have the situation we had in the last 3 months or so. And yeah, though we expect things like that, you don't really expect it to happen, you know, because you don't think it's going to happen to you. I mean, we've heard of things like that happening in the space, and people coming close to being shot dead. but having 17 shot dead in the last 3 to 4 months, yeah, or was it 18, 17 or 18, something like that. E tatauma, so it's been harrowing, but the whole 15, 16 years has been harrowing, and the Crown is at fault for that. And we're going to bring them to bear. We're going to make them come to the fore as time goes on. And we will mention to them at settlement that they will need to consider all of those issues, including the issues in our additional claim number 1, additional claim A, and additional claim B. And to the is it the first one? No, might be the second of the additional claims. That's where we mention all of the stuff that opposition have gone to jail for, and some of those particular people have also died. Remember, they were teamed up with Tūhoe, Ngāpuhi, Awa, some of those people, and some of those people are actually a lot of those who have been imprisoned. I'm not too sure which one of them have died. I've heard of maybe 2 or 3. But yeah, I'm not too sure about any of that sort of detail. If I knew about any of that sort of detail, I would relay that to you. But from what I know, things are fairly well settled amongst the awa, and things are settled down really well amongst the tūhoe. So that's the awa and the tūhoe. We're not too sure about Ngāpuhi, but we guess that the majority of Ngāpuhi are actually not too concerned with that situation. They're more focused on their settlements, which is rightfully so, and about their Māoritanga. Yeah, they've been sticking hard to their Māoritanga lately, and it's been a bit of an issue. I've got that in our kōrero today, so in the update we've got some more kōrero there on Māori. We've got some additional kōrero there as well, apart from kōrero around the hui wānanga on the 8th and 9th of Te Uokoeko, or August. E tatauma, we have kōrero around Te Runanga ko Huiarau, organisation within Te Runanga ko Huiarau especially. That's our governance entity. Te Runanga ko Huiarau was in charge of the country at the time of the Declaration of Independence, and also at the time of Te Tiriti. What we had from Crown /Crown representatives of the country, oh sorry, no, that was just Crown at that time, because the Crown wasn't yet an entity. That's the New Zealand Crown Corporation. That's why we call that the Crown. Because it's not really the real Crown, the made-up Crown that was established in New South Wales. Yeah. And in September of 1840, the year of the signing of Te Tiriti, the New Zealand Crown Corporation came to bear. And they took over the country, and they were the henchmen that drove the falsified, the illegal and fraudulated version of Te Tiriti from right throughout the country. Okay? And did they succeed with that? Yes, they did. Eventually. It was a long haul. It was a very gradual and slow progression through that. All of that and everything they needed to do. Of course, our tūpuna, our ancestors, were going to oppose. They were going to rebel. And even at times, they took the crown to war. Okay, and that was a difficult time, very, very difficult time of transition for our people. Of course, there's the 1854 Parliament that built the Westminster system of Parliament in the country in 1854. That same system stands today in Wellington there, and is still racist today. Yeah. I'm sick of making excuses for that system, eh? We try and lessen the horrid nature of the whole of the system, eh? But it's absolutely horrible. Just talking around that, around the RSB, just with reference to that, the RSB, I mean, last time I spoke about that, I was utterly disgusted. I left my notes. I had all these notes, I had all these particulars, all these details, and I threw them. I went, stuff it, because I'm peed off with this one. And I think I think every second word was an F word or a C, it was a bomb. I mean, if they can do it in the Parliament, so can I, So I thought, yeah, that's what I would do last time I spoke about the RSB. But I just want to say, it's hugely exemplary of the racism that's driven by the Westminster system. It's absolutely racist, that bill. That bill is, a huge advancement on the Treaty Principles Bill in terms of being racist, but they're both racist bills. Let's not get away from that. And the Westminster system is still racist. Let's not try and soften the blow there by saying, it's only institutionally or systemically. I mean, it's still racist. After 2 centuries, it still hasn't gotten rid of its racist demeanour. Okay? And I think the Westminster system has a lot, there's a lot to be desired in that system, especially when its practices are extremely racist, systemically. Okay, but the RSB, TPPA and the RSB are almost one and the same. Almost one and the same. But in the RSB, everyone loses out. So he's pretty cunning, the Seymour. He's pretty cunning, pretty hirorirorike. Ite meana, he swindles a lot of the Pākehā vote into siding with him after disrupting them. The ngātake i arātau, ana, kakaikiri te puta mai. Te āhua o te take e putana mai I roto I arātai. And he starts ka tūriki noa nei, āna ka mea nei, ka taitoko atu nei eia. And then he devises a bill like this and he just counts everybody out. He's saying, oh no, me and my big corporation boys, we're the right people, we're the dictatorship for this, He's just so driven by, he's very crown/crown orientated. That's what I can say about this Seymour, which is why we don't like him very much. We don't like the crown/crown very much at all. We're happy that they're looking at 1 to 3% in settlements for us. That's fine. But the way that they're doing it is far from the right way, the correct way, the legal way, or the lawful way. Via tikanga me tikawa. Far from the customary way. And whilst they continue to avoid customary ways of doing things, they continue to trample the law, and therefore the law of our people. So as they continue to do that, we'll continue to oppose them. They've got no right to do that. And they've got no right to make deals with us as well. Deals that ask for us to break custom as well and trample our own laws. They've got to cheek, They've got to cheek the crown/crown. I mean, they make deals with us. They say, would like you to settle. And we go, oh, tino pai, tino pai. And then they go, a requirement to settle would mean you going under these junior groups. And we go, I beg your pardon? Which would be a breach of customary law. We're backed by common law and international law as well. In terms of the stance that we have, we've remained upon our tikanga me tikawa, our mana tika, our mana tau tika in the country to date. And we still drive forth everything we do under that law. Because customary law has never left our country, has never left our people, and has never, ever denied us our rights as we move forward. And ko huiaro, we'll talk about some of those things when we come to talking about te runanga ko huiaro. But customary law, as difficult as it might be for the Crown/Crown to enjoy working by, they don't have a choice in our lands. And we've let them know in no uncertain terms. Our whakatapu is still over these lands. Until all of the paperwork, and our lawyers have cited all of the paperwork and everything's fine and it's all signed up around the settlements in these lands, we won't be lifting that whakatapu. That's one of the mechanisms by law that we can, via karakia, via incantation, place that whakatapu right around the entire, because the entire of this region, for instance, of Wairarapa is TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi, and we are the rightful seniorities, taiopuru ariki mataura, and people running TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi. Not like what we had 3 or 4 months ago. 3 or 4 months ago, the Kahunganu with their backing of Awa and Tūhoe and Ngāpuhi were still saying, oh, the Crown/Crown gives them the right to run us, to take us over and actually settle right across us. These are the sorts of threats that they were making. I wonder whether, especially these two that have helped us diffuse the situation, I wonder whether they actually realise that they have been very, very lucky that they've backed up on all of that. And I was just going to say then that I doubt very much, and they haven't failed to do that. They haven't failed to back everything up in that respect. But I was going to say, I doubt that they would ever try to push for anything like that now, in the situation they have now. Too many of their kahunu rangitane have died as a result. Other things that the Crown will need to pay for, and also these two as well. I mean, these two, yeah, they're them and the Crown. They're the two that always went backwards and forwards from their people to the Crown and lying to the Crown. They're not doing that anymore. They're telling the truth now. And all of a sudden we have the Crown backing the customary way forward, because they don't have a choice. They don't have a choice. We don't operate via Crown law. Crown law is rubbish. Crown law says you can have no evidence and still have what you want. And we laughed and we said to the Crown, oh, no, you can't. No, you can't. Not in my land. Not while it's still legally mine. and you don't have a leg to stand on in my land. See, that's what we said to the Crown. Okay. Meanwhile, they still had control on the lands via these two going backwards and forwards between, and they keep all that sort of organisation between them and the Crown and their people under, private and confidential and top secret. They keep all of that all top secret, but happy to blow all that cover up right now, right here and now, and blow all of that over so that you know that not only were they doing that, but they were lying to the Crown, misleading the Crown, and the Crown was still getting what they wanted though, see, because that was what they wanted, so they were already aiming for that anyway. They needed to know that that could actually happen rightfully and fairly, and we could do that. And these two idiots that I don't mind still calling idiots, they were going to them and say, oh yeah, yes, everything's fine. And that's not true. That's not true. So meanwhile, we keep getting onto these lives, and we keep, Kai te amuamua natonu mātau. Kāri te tonu hoki te amuamu o mātai, te ko whetewhete. And I hate to hear what they might have been saying as we continue to complain and aggrieve and scold and, tā mātai anō. E rite ana ia mātau i roto i ngā wā. I roto i te wā anō, me mātau anō pērā me te, me te mea rite tonu anō te mea tia o Tahuama. And so that's possibly some of the things they were saying to the Crown, probably laughing their heads off. E tatama, they're far from that right now. Their heads are always down. They're very sorry. They're in a very solemn state, these two people. And there's no more chuckling between hui. There's no more joy in what they were happily going about doing in secret and causing a life of misery for people like us, those of the innocent, with all of the evidence to prove our rights and our interests in these lands, and operating customarily in these lands to ensure that our rights and interests were not only heard, not only acknowledged and recognised by the Crown/Crown, which is what they are now. And I'm really happy to talk around that with you today. And we have all of that moving forward right now into peaceability. Our dealings now, our talks now with these other groups, once they're officially under us and all of their paperwork starts to, registrations would need to fully go under us as well. And that's rightfully so. I mean, customarily, they're from us. There's no way we could be from them, and there's no way they could have any evidence of that being the case. These are some of the things that these two told the Crown. Oh, no, they belong to us. Our old people said so. But they didn't provide any proof. See? This is what the problem is. Now, their old people were wrong, and I can remember opposing their old people and asking for proof. We're still waiting for evidence of their claims to be a Hapu Iwi. We're still waiting for their evidence that backs all of their claims to supremacy from throughout TeTarimatua and Here Tauma Wairua from since 2015 when we asked for that. That was when I opposed their old people. Why? Because I can do that to their old people. So I know every one of them, and they know me very, very well. That I would do that to their old people. And they knew that my old people were superiors to every one of them. Okay? And that is who's been leading me. So, let's continue to move on through our kōrero as we go. I think we're into the last hour of our kōrero now, and we definitely are, just by the look of my watch. So I'll move on through there into further settlements that we're wanting to look at, as we go, is the Southern Divide. But we haven't touched on that yet, because once we start to look at the Northern Divide, we have some interesting sort of moves that we'll need to make, I guarantee you, and probably they will solidify within our hui wānanga as we go through our legal team. Okay, and so quite a wonderful position to be in, but we, as usual, we're never overconfident. We're quietly confident, and we have always moved cautiously. I think sometimes not as cautious as other times, but yeah, we've always moved forward knowing exactly the lay of the landscape, everything in the space we're well aware of, and so nothing really can defy our movements or try to trip us up or put us off or anything like that. We're ready for anything and everything in this space, just as we always have been. And we do. We wish to look at the Southern Divide because it's the biggest one. 92% of the Southern Divide is TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi. And that's one of our settlements that we will be looking at hard at the hui wānanga in August. So that's one of the take that we got on there. Obviously I'm going to look at the north with our legal team when I get to meet with them. Hopefully that'll be this week. And also we want to continue to look at the rest of the Western Divide. Now for the Eastern Divide, we're really happy that we've worked really hard with the Eastern Divide, and we can pretty much say the Eastern Divide, why we haven't mentioned it much, is that the Eastern Divide is starting to play into our hands, really, and because it's mostly Te Awa in the Eastern Divide, but the junior Te Awa, apart from where we are and apart from where Moai are, Moai HapuIwi, in the East Cape there, and from the East Cape to the East Coast. And then we've got Moteo in the Bay of Plenty area there, and we've got, of course, us in the Hawke's Bay Wairoa and Wairarapa. We're also in the Bay of Plenty. You'll find that we've got lands from right throughout there as well. So there's not just the junior Te Awa people in there, that's the Moriori and their descendants from Te Tini o Toi, but there's also a number of our tribes scattered right through there into Tauranga in the Eastern Divide. But the Eastern Divide is starting to play into our hands. How can I put that? Oh, that's all I can think of at the moment. the strategy that we're moving forward with, and the way in which we choose to move forward. We choose to move with a customary focus, and that's not going to change. That's not going to change, because that has been the strength, part of the strength and the mainstay of our, not just our HapuIwi, but also the mainstay of our whole organisation. Its success has been built on all of that. The perpetual foundations of our HapuIwi are a part of that, the whole of the success of our organisation. Okay, and so, yeah, enjoying things much better now, though we choose to still move cautiously in the space and keep tabs, keep a finger on everything, keep our finger to the pulse and all that sort of thing, and make sure that we continue to manage through all of the issues, and that these too are kept under our control. Because the thing is with that, that if, well, no, I won't say that. I won't say if, because actually at the moment they're sounding like they are, you know, quite sorry for the situation they've created. The deaths that have taken place, we have blamed these people and the Crown for those. And just the fact that they had, I mean, myself and my queen, taku o were, we o TEI, we're two of the most innocent people in the country, let alone in our iwi. We're two of the most important and priority and critical to our people. We're very, very important, highly important to our future. So there's not just the kids, not just the mokopuna, but we're looked at very highly. And I think what this created with the situation that we had is that all those people looking to take us out, basically take us out, couldn't handle the fact that we were so prestigious and led our people, you know, with some authority that, yeah, you know, no one can match. There's no parallel, there's no comparison to how well we are leading our people, yeah, through these times. Even, yeah, a lot of the situations that we've been through, some of the worst situations we could possibly ever go through. Don't ask me how we managed. But I think the Lord, you know, he's always staunch and true with us and remains with us all the time. So if there's anyone to thank for us getting through any of that, it is the Lord. And so, yeah, just in case anyone's wondering. But, yeah, okay, there's certain moves, certain decisions we needed to make. One thing about our teams, we seem to gel, we seem to work together so very, very well. Yeah, okay, we have our little differences, but they're not big differences of any kind. You know, there's nothing that's worth writing home about. And we soon come to a good understanding where we can work together still, which is really cool. I guess that's part of the answer too. But then the Lord's always been there with us. That's the major part. I mean, everything's well looked after, no matter how chaotic it becomes, the havoc that was created. And for some people, a catastrophe. You know, it's catastrophic in the end. For some people, not just those people that went to prison, but also some of those people that were shot. I dare say, though, some of them that were shot, I am not too sure whether they were even in their right mind. We know, though, that for for all of them, as far as we know, they weren't taken over by karakia, the incantation. Sorry. And we know for a fact that they were in the frame of... This is how much trouble that the Crown/Crown was causing our people. And these two very, very sorry and very, very now empathetic people, and now very, very sympathetic people to our cause and what we're trying to achieve for everybody in our space, not just for TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi. Okay? The Crown will thank us at the end of all of this. We're pretty sure. The Crown/Crown. Because, whether they... I'm pretty confident to say they'll be gone. But they'll be a lot better off once they're gone. The Crown/Crown. Yeah, I'm pretty confident they'll be gone. There's too much evidence to prove that they should go. And there's too much strife and trouble and trauma and grievance and continued grievance and lack of a resolution in the motu. Apart from the settlements, we're talking 1%. Politicians get carried away. They talk about these settlements like they're settling the whole of their grievances, and that's not true. They're only settling 1 to 3%. I mean, they're talking like they just settled 100% of a grievance. That's not true. Not one grievance has been settled 100%. So let's get the story straight. Politicians are using the settlements process as propaganda to push around the world that they have this real non-racial and very fair and equality mind. That's crap. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. The Crown/Crown, the Westminster system is racist and full of crap. And they'll never, ever be able to return to this space, and they'll never, ever be able to ruin our lives ever again in this country, those of the native indigenous of this country ever again, once they're gone. Okay? The Westminster system's full of so much inequality, so much racism, it's not funny. And all of those things that you get in there, in that parliament, is the opposite to what you're going to get in Te Runanganui. But that's coming up a bit later on. Māori e tataima. Māori. Now, I was watching some of the you know what? There's no problems with us, with people that say that they're Māori. Okay, and that's fine. That's fine. Māoritanga is a part of our heritage. It is a part of us spiritually, and it is a part of us physically. And we've already said that. But it doesn't make us a Māori race-based people. Okay, there's no such thing. There's no such thing. We never have been that. From 1840, we were focused upon with that in mind. Te Māori o te wairua, there's no problems with that. And we've all got Māori in us, but it doesn't make us one people. Let's get that straight. Because at the end of the day, it's the HapuIwi. And we know all about that now. The HapuIwi that builds us up as an official people. An official people is what we're talking about there. A HapuIwi. Now, Māori is a little tiny weeny concept from our atuatuatanga. Through the atuatuatanga, kia papaha wenuku ki te wenua, putati ki te rangi. I te rangi tonu mai anō, putati ki te whenua. Okay, Māori, he wairua, he tupua, he atua, you know? Let's not get carried away with that. Let's not get carried away with that. But it does attach us to our atuatuatanga, and it also takes us right back. You can remember in one of my videos, I've been reviewing a lot of those videos, by the way, before we posted them onto YouTube. And in one of those videos, I recall saying that Māori is, in fact, you know, the reo of the purity is actually the same in the reo of Io. That is the reo of Io, te reo Māori. Now, Māori, though, to us, to get to us, had to come from Ranginui and Papaha Wenuk. Mai roto I a rā iwa tahi, anō putatu ki ngā i a rā iwa tamariki, putatu ki te whenua, putatu ki roto te wāotu, kia tātou mānu. Hoi anō I roto te Māori, a wairua, I roto I te Māori, a te kiko. Now, yeah, I think it was the Māori All Blacks. I noticed I've looked through a lot of their footage of a lot of their tours and some of their games, etc. And I noticed they very well built on their Māoritanga. They almost, you know, tried to say for themselves that they have this race-based, you know, official people. It's as if they are an official people called Māori. You know, they mentioned the Iwi Māori. Now, the Iwi Māori is somewhat of a modern concept because we've never been that. Our people have never been an Iwi Māori or an official people. That would mean to say that we were Māori race-based, or in other words, a race called Māori, which isn't true either. Okay, they also mention bound by blood. Now, I hope they realize the only blood that they're bound by, no te mea nā, te Māori rāne, o toto, kai roto te kōkōua, ko tēnā noa, tēnā toto, te toto e kōrero ni. Okay? If you're bound by blood, that doesn't mean all of your blood throughout your body. The only blood that is Māori in your body, or Māori in your body, is the blood of the heart, the whatsu manawa. Okay, see? And I bet they don't know that. I bet they don't know that. And I laugh when they say bound by blood. Kahore kai. Kahore kai. It's only the blood of the heart, which is the darkest. You see, when you look at the blood within the heart, all of the heuriuri katoa, the darkest matter of blood is in the blood of the heart. That is what you call Māori. Te Māori o te toto, kei roto te whatsu manawa. And I wondered if they actually knew that. So I thought I'd share that today with our audience out there, with our people, just so that they know. Some people did ask me about that. And some people asked me about all of the kōrero that we've been through today. And I love responding to our people and making sure that they know that be rest assured we've got everything covered that we need to have covered in terms of TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi and in terms of TahuHapuIwi, our senior line of Hapuiwi, that we are also tai o puru ariki mataura, and o were we o TEI, myself and my queen were also the paramount sees the kaitiaki. We are the tautiaki of both these Hapuiwi. I'm not too sure that it was that particular fact which was why the people started to oppose our strength in the Hapuiwi space, and they started to threaten to look at taking our lives. There's no way they could have done that. Yeah, we can see that happening. Why? Because we're too important to too many people in the country. But then, yeah, we needed to put safety first, as we always do, and ensure that that couldn't be carried out, and that all of the threats were shut down. And everything had to get shut down in the way that it was shut down, because that was the only way in the end left to us. But e tatauma, when thinking about being Māori, there's no such thing as a Māori bo. Let's not get too carried away. Our official people, kai rotana, ana? E rā, kai te kōrero hi ana, e mātau. I tēnei wā. Ara, i roto i tā mātau, e ki ana. Ara ngā Hapuiwi i te motu. Ko mō ai Hapuiwi tēnā. Ko te awa Hapuiwi, there's our official people in the motu. Mō ai Hapuiwi. Te awa Hapuiwi, that's Tuturu. Okay? Te Māori nei, kai roto ia tēnā. Nā reira, ai. Even though we all got a kōkōua, he rere ke tō tēnā. Kai te pai? So let's not pretend that we've always been all one people. I raro i tātū hoe kōrero. He tātū hoe. It is, however, an aspect of traditional unity. We accept that. It is, however, an aspect of traditional unity, because we all have that. We all have a Māori. Hoiano, let's not forget mai tēnā kōkōua ki tēnā. He rere ke tonu. Okay? You need to accept that. And though we all have that aspect of traditional unity, and we can come together with that aspect, kaua. Kia wareware hia tonu hia, e tatauma. Kaua rawa, kia wareware hia noa hia. You know what? He rere ke tō tēnā. He ahureia anu hoki. Ia tēnā, i tō tēnā. Kai te pai e tatauma. Okay, and so though it's an aspect of traditional unity, and we've spoken a lot about things like that, like tuakana, that tuturu always work together. Tūhoe used to have us believe, well, other people believe that tuakana were the only leaders in a hapu iwi, and the teina were slaves, and that's it. What a load of rubbish. We've been laughing for years at all that stuff. And that the reo is only one reo. The only one reo that there is the reo of io. See? Kei reira te kotahi reo. Ana, tōna Māori, ka rira tonu I a rangi nui rā wa ko papa, ka putatiki a rā wa tamariki. Okay? And so let's not get carried away with all these. I think Tūhoe gets a little bit carried away because they've been the longest sitting in the karakia mode out of all of us because, most of us lost that particular way of working over certain times. And Tūhoe has been monumental in bringing that back amongst us, but luckily for some of our hapu iwi, we have retained how we do that, see? And now Tūhoe has been trying to control everyone and manipulate everyone to doing it exactly how they do. If they were to do that, then we would effectively all be under them, and that's not lawful or true. Tūhoe and awa need to start to relax now, because and we need to start to relax on all those things too, because we figure that we're starting to come to a point where they're going to start to go under their rightful lines, just like Kahungunu prepared, they're in the modes of preparing right now to do, and that is to going under us, which is where they rightfully belong, in the 10th TeTarimatua and the 12th TeTarimatua, under the 10th TeTarimatua and under the 12th TeTarimatua of Tahumaakaa kanuimatua So will awa and Tūhoe go back under Te Tini o Toi, which is their Moriori line of and the Moriori being the last line of Te awa of the last line, which is their line of descent, Tuturu descent from Te awa. That's through Moriori and through Tini o Toi of Moriori. We're going to be so happy once that happens, and people start to uphold and maintain their rightful position amongst the hapu iwi. Okay, and so after Moriori hapu iwi, obviously there's awa hapu iwi, and then Te Atiawa hapu iwi. That's the one I like their name, Te Atiawa Nui no Runga Te Rangi. I just like their name, that's why I always call them that. And I've got no worries with calling them that, because I like the name. And also, in particular, I like the way they do things. They're very, very good tina, and very good tuakana. You know, I've had much to do with Te Atiawa, and I've noticed how good they are at either. And so, you know what, I'm hoping that our people start to understand the place of Māoritanga, the rightful place of Māoritanga within our culture, within our heritage, within our whakapapa and whakapapa kōrero. Because until we do, we will lose you know, the unique aspects of te ao kōhatu that are going to go missing if we don't. Yeah. Because we seem to overdo it so much in terms of tēnā mea te Māori. You know, it has its place. It doesn't make us an official people called Māori or a race called Māori, but it certainly is a unifying traditional aspect of us, but it's not the key. It is not the one that gives us that. To find that, we have to go return to our Hapu Iwi. Okay? And that's where we want us to come to. Return to the Hapu Iwi, e Tatauma. Because that's where all the unifying aspects of our people come together. Not just within our Hapu Iwi, but without as well. Our Hapu Iwi, as we come into Te Runanga ko Huiarau, are going to be working together in unity, in traditional unity within the Parliament of Te Runanga ko Huiarau. That is the responsibility of our people in there. Convened by, of course, where everything began with the seniorities. And of course it's our people, the TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi. So again, yeah, let's look at that. Again, here's possibly one of the other reasons why people in the opposition started to look to try and take us out. Because my Queen and I are positioned to reconvene ko Huiarau, Te Runanga ko Huiarau. Now, so it's possible when these three major steps, these three major achievements were accomplished by my Queen and I, that people got terribly jealous and couldn't handle it anymore. Because the next step, which is what I was going to say at the beginning of my kōrero, I've come a long way from that, sorry, I don't have my tatauma. But, yeah, it's open to us right now, but my Queen and I, we will look to, along with the Queen who is, my Queen and I will also become leading leaders within the Moai Hapu Iwi, and also working with the leadership of Moai Hapu Iwi to go through a rebuilding stage. We all need that. We all need that. And Moai Hapu Iwi has some of that to do too. Te Awa Hapu Iwi has some of that to do too, and we have already started on that. But yeah, we hear that we've got communication from, I was just going to mention the Queen that's there upholding Moai Hapu Iwi at the moment. She is taking good care of Moai Hapu Iwi and has opened the invitation to us to move in on Moai and start to work at the top in Moai as well. Moai Hapu Iwi. Why? Because we have the strengths that they need. Same with Moteo, they need our strengths to help to build them up as well. We've been told also that we're also going to remain a part of it. At the end, even with Te Awa, we were hoping that we were going to be able to build them up and build up Te Awa and then sneak all the way back down to TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi where it all started for us. But no, we're going to be continuously leaders of all three. We're told by them. And that's okay. That's something we can not refuse. But we also have the run. We are to reconvene Te te runanga ko hui rau. That's all these honours are huge honours, a huge privilege to anybody, let alone us, the Queen and I. We've spoken a little bit around these things, and we humbly accept each one, and we humbly accept that they're not going to let us run away back down into time. Once we're done, and that, yeah, we humbly accept all of that. Kaitipai kia māiwa, te tahi, and pai hoki anō kia mātai o roto te iwi, te hapu iwi. And Tahumaakaa kanuimatua will be a lot stronger for it in any case, and that's okay by us. Yeah, so lots of work is going to happen in there, but just for the focus, we wanted to focus a bit more on te runanga ko huiara, because most of the questions that we've had of late, apart from our situation, I mean, we've managed to get through all of that, and I'm sort of skipping a lot of my kōrero, so I wanted to get to this point where I could discuss te runanga ko huiara. Yeah, but I just wanted to mention up there in the north, just before I move on to ko huiara, that some of the reo of today in the north is particularly exemplary of te pai pera tapu. They need to be careful of that, and the reo of that time, in fact 20 years prior to te pai pera tapu. They need to be careful of that reo, because it was the beginning of that. You know when the Crown started to learn te reo, and the Pākehā started to learn te reo, the missionaries, but in particular the strategy of the Crown in learning te reo was to, in particular, drive a wedge between us and te reo tūturu in the country. So we need the North to be very, very careful. We think that part of Ngāpuhi's problem at the moment is that they may be sucked in by that reo. And I wouldn't get carried away with that reo at all. That is a Pākehā version of the reo of that time. That's all you've got there. There's a ton of errors right through it. Let's not mince words here. And this is why we've spoken out against the pai pera tapu. Because the pai pera tapu wouldn't be as safe and wouldn't be as Ngāpuhi says, and wouldn't even be Northern dialect, as Ngāpuhi says. So if I was them, I would dump that reo. If I was them, the dialect that they are using, I would just let go of. Because that, sorry, not dialect, that reo HapuIwi, that reo that utilizes dialectual concepts, but are not the concepts of a dialect, but a whole other reo. Okay? That's according to TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi, of course. From iwi to iwi we have some differences. And we know some of the differences between awa, tuhua, and us. And we're not worried. We're not worried about that. But we've said to tuhua and awa, kaitipai, kia mātai, tonu, he momo, tonu te reo. He momo tonu o te reo, no te reo, anō, I runga i te mea, te mea. And we've explained why. And the simple fact that a lot of our reo we've managed to retain see. A lot of the kiko of our reo we've managed to retain. We've got so much kupu of our reo. And a lot of those kupu are so different between reo. It also shows. Okay? And though a lot of the, we talk about tenses, we talk about whakapuakinga, we talk about the beginnings of sentences and stuff like that when we teach te reo. Or otherwise we just use them, and we just continually use them, as I like to do when I walk into wānanga reo or kura reo. And people just follow my examples. I'm not silly. I'm not silly. But karereke ia e tahiwa. Karereke. See, kahuhua ia e tahiwa. And there's a lot of different ones. See, Tūhoe and Awa are probably a lot less aware of a lot of the different other kupu that there are out there. We know we've retained many of those that tell us of the huhua of our different reo, or the different types or forms of reo that we actually have. Yeah, we can build into those. In one of my videos, among the whole 166 of the videos we've just started sharing into YouTube, and very soon into Twitter and LinkedIn as well, I remember saying in one of them around te reo that dialects in our reo, regardless of what Huani Waititi says, e tataima, Huani Waititi it was that said, he reo a iwi o te mea o tēnā, which would mean to say, e tataima, that we only have one reo. Kai te he tēnā. Kai te he tēnā kōrero. We don't just have one reo. We don't just have one reo. Okay? Io has one reo. Ko te reo Māori, te reo Oio. Ko tēnā reo tonu, te reo Iai. Okay? And te Māori Iai, kapita mai roto i arangi nui rāiwa ko papa, kia puta tonu atu. Kia rāiwa tamariki, tai nuats ki te wenua, ki te ao Māori, ka puta mai ia, i te hita tangata. Kai te pai? And kai te tika katoa e nā mea katoa. But that's not all we're made of. What people keep on saying is that he Māori katoa ngā mea katoa. That's not true. Kai te he tēnā kōrero. If he Māori katoa ngā mea katoa, tēnā he atua ki tātai. He atua ki tātai. Because, and we're also tēnā. Ia papa hā winuku a puta tiki a rangi. We're also tēnā ki aia. So we say, li te tonu, tatai mātai, ia rātai. Is that what we say? Yeah, it's a little confusing to hear all that sort of thing going on out there, which is why I always speak out against a lot of that. I think we've got some confused minds out there as to which is which. Are we Māori or are we TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi? We are definitely TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi. If you were to ask me that. If you were to ask me that. Which one are we? And there's definitely no such thing as an official Māori people. Okay. We're also te awa, TuTahuHapuIwi. That's our official people. And also Moai Hapuiwi. Yeah, that's an official people too. Okay? Now, what we now understand about the reo in the north is that they drove a particularly Pākehā crown, we could probably say more so crown, version of te reo, and they pushed that right throughout the country. And that's what you got from the reo that came out of the crown/crown via the missionaries, via the Pākehā. So let's not get carried away with that reo, because none of them were tūturu. None of them were actually te ao kōhatu. And we know that because we've studied all of them. Okay? So let's not get carried away with that reo in the north. If you're trying to still call it Ngāpuhi, then good luck to you. Because by our reckoning, Ngāpuhi doesn't have a tūturu reo. They would from their hapu, their TeTarimatua hapu whānau that they might, they might descend from, or they might from their HapuIwi that they're intermarried by, HapuIwi. They would have a reo from there, but as for one of their own karakai. Why? Because we've studied Ngāpuhi, and they don't have an TeTarimatua at all. Okay? There's plenty of TeTarimatua ariki, but there's no TeTarimatua. The one I mean is the TeTarimatua tahipu mā takitai. They don't have that. Okay? So I just wanted to mention that in the north before I got on to Te Runanga ko Huiarau. And some of the organisations from throughout there, because people wanted to know. Because in my last kōrero, the one before last, I mentioned some of the organisation within ko Huiarau. And then each of us would come into ko Huiarau with our governance entities already intact. And people said to me, "Nee." Then, ake te tikanga o te haere noa ake ki roto kia te runanga ko Huiarau, hui atu ai. He anō te take o te ira. And I thought to them, well, firstly, there's the aspect of traditional unification. We've always got that. Whether it's through tūakana ki te teina, whether it's through being a part of te wakaminenga o te runanga ko Huiarau, whether it's through, there's a lot of different traditional aspects running through there. So we've got to come together. Yeah, ne? That's the first thing. I said, secondly, we're all going to have take. We're all going to have take. And we're maybe not all going to go in there all the time, but we'll have various different boards or committees that will take our take in there to represent our take in there. Now we might go in there and we might take our take in there to be discussed by the main contingencies in there, the main boards in there, and those also directing the show, which would be us. Look, we would run the chair obviously in there, and a lot of the take that would come forth within that within te runanga ko Huiarau would pertain to various, whether we wanted to see new laws created, whether we wanted to safeguard, it could be any take at all that we wish to bring into ko huiarau. We would already have, by all means, everyone can have all of their own conclusions as to which way they want their take to go. What people look for in ko huiarau is a concluding of a take which might affect also or impact take of others, or there might be take, there might even be issues that groups have with each other. They might have come to ko huiarau to bring those issues to the fore and have them discussed within the forum there, which is a lot of the main reasoning as to why we come together in that way. Now, much of the take can be ongoing, and some of those take or matters or issues for discussion may be ones that we can sort out in that time. The thing about a lot of the organisation of ko huiarau is that it's a very customary organisation that we have in there. So you'll see ways of operating that are far from anything you get in Westminster, the Westminster system. It's not like that at all. We will have robust debates. We will have times where people would even need to vote. But those things are not the central focus in Te Runanga ko huiarau. Te Runanga ko huiarau is based, remember, on the perpetual foundations of each of the hapu iwi of the country. Don't forget, representatives of the hapu iwi of the country, representatives of the Pākehā, representatives of the immigrants of the country will also be there from within their government bodies. And their government bodies will deliver their issues if they've come to look at issues within the forum of ko huiarau. And they will look to confront challenges. They will look to seek some sort of resolution to some issues maybe that they've found difficult to work with other groups. But one of the things that you'll notice about the running of ko huiarau is that there's no racism, no racial discrimination. There never was from 1815, and there still isn't. Okay, there's no inequality, because you can't have that in a parliament that focuses on the already governed across people who have already been established to govern over their own, and that have some outstanding issues, some outstanding take that they wish to bring to the nationally focused forum to discuss at the top level. Okay, and what is the key to everything that we look at within that forum is the resolution that we're looking for. Now, some of the resolutions may not end up the resolutions that groups are looking for. Now, if that is the case, then they can go on to continue to move to perhaps amend, or perhaps, sometimes some things are not workable as well as some groups might feel. But I think some of the people that questioned me had, they sort of thought, well, what's the reason for coming to yeah, they thought, well, then maybe there was no real reason for kohuiarau, and that's not true. That's not true. Kohuiarau is a far more unilateral way of working. You know, we talk about multi-diversity in governance. We talk about multifaceted governance. It is the key to that. Kohuiarau is the key to that sort of governance. And yeah, I just want to give a couple of examples so that we don't get too confused out there about that. People know that we are always going to need kohuiarau. And those are the reasons why. Because there's always going to be take come up. There's always going to be room for new laws. Okay? Just like we've tried to push the tūhoe into doing. We want them to change the way they treat Tina. See, I've been going on about that for years, and they still haven't changed that. But maybe they would do that officially amongst their awa contingent, and they would take that as a take to te runanga kohuiarau. So we can discuss as a national forum, as a national body, where everyone, every governance body in there will get to discuss that take. How about that? How about that? Isn't that a massive, it's almost, yeah. I mean, United Nations, I mean, could, you know, it could be that it's similar to an embodiment of what the United Nations would sort of work upon. But, you know, the crown of the 1870s the 1770s to the crown of the 1790s, to 1815, 1816, did not like our style of governance. But this is how it was. And this was the style of governance in the country over the last 3,000 plus odd years. Okay, and it was still that and running successfully from 1815 in this country. And that is what we're going to be reconvening. First of all, we need to ensure that the governance entities within each of those embodied by the governance entities among those groups that have become a part of kohuiarau and have officially come under the umbrella of kohuiarau, te runanga kohuiarau, and are all officially a part of kohuiarau. That's including those of the Pākehā. Well, if they still choose to be under the Crown, kei te pai tērā, the Crown would have to operate, they'd have to operate a new Crown, because we would be kicking this current one out of here. And the Crown we want to operate with is Westminster, King Charles. To clarify that for you, we would like to work with his office and King Charles, whom we would find to be more reputable and capable of doing a much better job than what the New Zealand Crown Corporation has done in this country, and what we term them criminals. And I think Hobson and Busby are clearly criminal. And though they were Crown, we don't say Crown / Crown because of the royal family or the king and his office. No, we're not saying it because of it. We say that because of Hobson and Busby, who were the leading criminal hands in the work that has gone down into defrauding our people, our native indigenous in this country, not just of their sovereignty, but the entirety of their prior rights and their established governance over the country prior to 1840, prior to 1835 in fact. Okay, and that's why, yeah, that's why everyone will still be attached to Te Runanga ko Huiara, and there's still a necessity for that. There are always times to come together in traditional unity, as Teina Tuakana, as Te Runanga ko Huiara, and as Te Waka Minenga o Te Runanga ko Huiara. Runanga, because that's where we come to Congress or to forum, the entire of those issues that are of national importance to us. And everybody in there, every representative body for their governance bodies and entities among their people gets to discuss all of the issues in there. That's not just about those who run ko huiara. We're just, directors. We're just those people who have perhaps the greater feel for the governance of old, of our people in this country. That is all. Yeah, we don't get to lead anything in terms of making the decisions for everyone. We can encourage, if anything, the best decisions to come forth from the people. And those are the sort of leaders we need to be able to be within Te Runanga ko Huiara. Yeah, so that's the best way I can answer that, and I hope that those people find a lot of happiness in that answer. And there's so much more for us to come together. There are always matters, always take, in other words, for us to discuss in Te Runanga ko Huiara. And what better way to come together for the national good of everybody in the country. Not only that, but we're connected right throughout the country. Pākehā. Mō ai, te awa, TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi. Mā moe, mō the immigrants, tangata tiriti, everyone will be in there. And let's not forget, we run on the original intentions now of te tiriti. So the old ko huiaro is gone. And the new ko huiaro will encompass a lot of the old, but also encompass a lot of the new, which includes the original intentions of te tiriti, which were accepted in 1840 by our tūpuna, by our ancestors. That's why they signed te tiriti. That's why so many, 540 signed te tiriti. He hane, ora, tā te runanga ko huiara kairuta. I te mana, tā te runanga ko huiara, ana mea katoa, ana tikanga, te tikanga, me te kawa, kairoto i te tiriti. Kua whakaau ki anei, e te karauna. / karauna. Ki roto i te tiriti. Kairoto rā no, e tino kaweana o na painga katoa kairoto. So our governance systems that had been in the country for 3,000 years plus prior were guaranteed to be continued on through te tiriti. That's why our ancestors kahaina tia, patawa mo kohia, a te tiriti. Yeah, and so I just thought I'd share that little bit of how, we will, of course, make laws. But there's not always going to be necessity for that. Sometimes we'll need it, sometimes we won't. It's not full on around that sort of thing. as in Westminster. And a lot of the entities that we're talking about, we've still got to rebuild around a lot of those entities. A lot of, I think, what we have noted within ko huiarau of all the entities that it ran on in former times may be matters of claim today, because preceding governments, preceding Te Tiriti, actually ripped a lot of the ko huiarau, and they trampled right over ko huiarau from 1840. A lot of those things are issues of claim, and we're going to claim those. However, we have greater issues at hand, and we need to actually reconvene ko huiarau. It is detrimental to the future of our mokopuna and all of their generations that we bring it forward and we make moves now. And so that is why TahumaakakanuimatuaOTuturaHapuIwi has moved forward, started to make moves in order to do that. And there shouldn't be too much trouble with that. And of course, among the most senior of the land, we're the ones who have been chosen for that. Once we have all our entities back up and running, I guess we will start to make a lot more law, legislative ideas. Something we are thinking of doing too, as well as trying to work with the Westminster model. That's going to be quite a tough challenge for us, but we make note that we will need to work with them. But we will need them to be well advised and well aware as well, those of the Westminster system, and who wish to remain in that system, that actually will be running Te Runanga ko huiarau alongside King Charles and his office, if we're successful in moving forward together, just as we first started right through the 1700s, the late 1700s. We made lots of alliances and partnerships with Westminster, with the royals, with the monarchies of Great Britain. Okay? The Declaration of Independence and Te Tiriti were just another two of those. Okay? But however, the way Busby and the way that Hobson decided to run those two particular ones was, quite treasonous and quite fraudulent, and a lot of that kōrero was starting to come out now. And so here we are, moving forward with Te Wakaminanga o Te Runanga ko huiarau, our tūturu parliament, but an example, exemplary and symbolic, totally, of the, apart from the updating that, we got it together with, I think it was King George King George VI, who helped us with ko huiarau to update it and prepare it for our Pākehā brothers and sisters, and to accommodate our Pākehā brothers and sisters, and also the Crown. But the Crown kept refusing. Funny thing, they did that because they wanted 100%. They didn't like the 50-50 Parliament style. Because it's 50-50 because when you come into their Parliament, when you're one of the entities in there, up against the forum of Parliament, you are actually holding 50% power in the Parliament. See, that's all you get. And the powers that be of the Parliament actually only hold 50%. See? Now the Crown could not stand that. They wanted 100%. They thought they were the superiors of the time, obviously. And they were just imagining things, obviously, too. And but and that's the same with every group. Like when Pacifica comes in and they bring their take, they will have 50% in the forum, and the leading forum in there who's only basically directing everything, but everyone gets a say. All of the different groups within the forum can add to kōrero in there, because we've got professionals right across the board in every area that we will need to focus on within the Parliament, professionals right across the board. But yeah, there's a lot of challenges in there still. There's a lot of building in there still to do. But everything from the ground up is really, really and strong enough to get going now. Yeah, and to move on now. All the whilst we have the perpetual foundations of each of the 7 iwi of the country. And because we've established an everlasting partnership with the Crown, the proper Crown, that was through the Queen and Pākehā, and unilaterally from throughout the world through Te Tiriti, and beginning with He Whakaputanga, or the Declaration of Independence. Yeah, we've got all those things in there too. I must mention that, yeah, it begins with He Whakaputanga, sorry. But Te Tiriti, the original intentions of Te Tiriti solidify everything. The precursor being He Whakaputanga. Sorry, I should have mentioned that before. That's also a part of Te Runanga ko Huiarai. Okay, because that's where our new nation was born, was through those documents. Through the already ongoing partnerships we had established with the Crown and Great Britain at Westminster. Not under this New Zealand Crown Corporation that, they feudal henchmen that wanted to drive this fraudulent, this fraudulent interpretation of Te Tiriti right throughout the country. And they've done so over the last 2 centuries. And it's time they were gotten out of here, to be honest. It's time they were gone. And so, we push on, moving cautiously still, e tatama. And hopefully that answers most of your questions. There's always going to be take, there's always going to be... And as we build our entities up that we represent from throughout the country, within Te Runanga ko Huiarai, we are going to be able to, e tatauma, and have to legislate a lot more as we go. We'll, of course, end up working with Westminster in several different ways to start off with. But that'll build and get more and more and more as we go. However, I cannot see our Hapu iwi of the country, the whole 7, ever moving away. Once they come into Te Runanga ko Huiarai, we cannot see us moving away from there. Because all of our power and authority in the country, our landlordship, our mana rangatira, our mana tapu in the country is absolutely recognised and acknowledged. Our perpetual foundations and the entirety of our governance over the country that was established long before the Tiriti is still intact within Te Runanga ko Huiarai. All our prior rights, all our prior governance, capability and capacity from right throughout the country is still intact in ko Huiarai. Okay? No reira nā ato mātau atua matua I te matapuo. taputia tonu hia o tō ungahu. Tō hoi hō ano kia tai ake ai. Ia ko tāu ano kia mea tuai. Ia te whenua tau. Ia tō te matapu o. A mea ia mātau ki te ao nei. Ai o a te iao hareia. A ko muru ake ia mātau. O mātau i o. Me mātau hoki ia mātau. Mātau e i o ahia. A ka hure hoki mātau kia kau o kia whakawaia. E rangi whakaura ia mātau. Ia te kinumea. Anu hou nā ia hoki te ho anu. Me te manatapu. Me ko te taia. Ke tonu atu. Mena, ka piti hono ka tātai hono ko rātau. Māno tērā rātau. Te mate ki a rātau. Ka piti hono ka tātai hono. Ka tātai mātanu anu tēnei tātau. Ano koa, ko te kāno hi o rā te wā. Hui hui mai anu ai. Ki roto ki ngā kōrero, ngā take kōrero, ngā nawe, ngā hanei o te wā. I roto i ngā take kōrero o te wā, o Tahumaakaa kanuimatua OTuturaHapuIwi, kai te mihi atu. Kai te mihi atu tēnā rā tātau. Tēnā rā tātau. A mauri ora. Kahuri.